Hi there and welcome back to another video. So this video is gonna be a bit different and I'm gonna apologize upfront because I don't usually script my videos. I usually only write a few notes, but I do have the process more thought out and right now I don't. But it's also because of the theme of this video, because it's something a bit of a personal thing, but I thought it will help you to see how I do my creative process, how I come out with ideas for illustrations, how I think of the different parts I'm going to use for them. I'm going to talk about a couple of different things in this video. One is going to be very united with references, because images give me a lot of inspiration and I think all of us draw a lot of inspiration from them. So I'm going to talk about one method I use very commonly and usually gets me ideas really quickly for something I want to sketch out in the moment or something that I want to be more fast. And then I'm going to also talk about a process I've learned recently that I found really interesting and useful if you want to do full illustrations that have a bit more story to them. So I'm going to start with the first one. A quick word before starting. I want to say that it's okay to use references. A lot of beginner artists or artists that have been drawing for a bit are against using references, but honestly there's nothing wrong with using references. It's something really good that helps you a lot as an artist, and you'll always be using references because you can't really learn to draw everything. Some things you're gonna develop a muscle memory for, but there's some things that you will always need some help and you'll always need some practices for expressions, for hands, for things like that. Even if you like them and if you can draw them, sometimes you do need that extra bit of help. And now let's start. So for the first process I'm going to talk about, which is a bit faster and it draws a bit more inspiration from references, I'm going to start on Pinterest. And Pinterest is main source of inspiration, of references for artists. It's really good, it's really useful. I do have a post on my blog talking about Pinterest and the benefits it has, not only for inspiration but also as a business or artist that is selling their prints and their products online. I'm going to start with my own starting page because I want to tell a few things. For example, in my case, I do collect a ton of references of anything that I fancy at the moment. I have a ton of boards, different boards. I have a few that are for my blog and my drawings to make promo of them, but others are just for plain references that I like. For example, a bit ago I was a lot into interiors, kind of inspired in a Wes Anderson style, so I did this board that I filled with inspiration from that, and I'm still filling, of course. Edwardian fashion, for example, I'm doing something for uni for that, my final degree project, but I also like the fashion a lot, so I did a board for that. Anything that really strikes my interest, I will do a board for that, because then I just have to jump in and be inspired, honestly. And it's really useful to have some inspiration already collected when you're searching for this, because if you have a theme in mind, then you just have to jump into that. For example, I have my circus board here that is for my circus coloring book. And whenever I need to do a new piece, I just jump into that. If you want to follow me, if you find something interesting in here though that I'm talking about, I'm gonna link it down below. I also wanted to say that I'm not sponsored by anything or any pages I'm gonna talk about today. I just use them and like them. Now onto the creative process. I usually start with something. You don't usually start with a nothing in your mind when you're drawing. So I will either start with a concept, some sort of a prompt, or maybe I had an idea and I have a little sketch that I have some idea where I want to go from there. What that means is that you have keywords to search for, and start that inspiration search that's gonna lead you to the final image. A good thing to do is to kind of keep a list of things that inspire you or some of ideas, because if you don't have anything to draw at the moment, you can just go back there and search for that list that you already have to use. Just a little interception here. If you want, I do have a huge prompt list filled with different prompts and variations and a lot of combined prompts up as a freebie in my blog. So if you join my mailing list, I will send it to you as a freebie, and I do have some other freebies extra too. So I'm gonna leave down below the link to my mailing list. I promise I don't spam. It's just to keep you updated in things that might interest you as an artist. So today I'm gonna use as an example a prompt from my mermaid list that I'm doing, and the prompt is tribal. And first of all, I'm going to search into my own pins because I do already have a lot of pins saved and most of them already inspired me. So I'm going to do a quick search onto the pins that I have saved. So for example, I must say I already have a sketch for this prompt, but I'm kind of reproducing the search I did yesterday because it was when I came out with this idea for this video. For example, I thought I really like this image, so I open it in a different tab to save for later and I continue with my search. I like this, I like this. So this is all up to you. Some images will call you and some images will call me. And that's what will make your artwork different actually, because you have your preferences. And going through them, through these ones, because as I already did it, I already know what inspired me. But I opened the same ones yesterday just to draw inspiration from them. And I keep searching just because I want to have a bit of variety before start exploring more. In some of them, I already see what inspires me from them. So for example, from this one, I love the hair. And I love the way this is wrapped around her hair. So that's why I open it. Some others are just something visual. And that's all. And then afterwards, I will search on the whole Pinterest. This also means some sort of tattoo, so I'm going to search for something slightly different. It's called woman. I want to do a mermaid for this. Let's search. Oh, actually I'm going to search for warrior. Oh, I like that one too. I'm going to search for warrior. I'm thinking about doing a mermaid that is kind of a tribal warrior, so that's why. So a good thing to do is also to start thinking keywords around your images. Sometimes those extra keywords will come when you search for images, and that's why I think it's good to start with looking at things and kind of getting a feel for it. For example, I kind of already knew I wanted a spear on that, but I really like this one. I like the pose and the tattoos on this one, so I'm gonna open it. Here I don't make distinction between artwork, photos, or statues or whatever, because it's just for the inspiration. I'm not gonna be copying exactly anything. It's just to draw inspiration from. Sometimes it could even be for a mood in the photo, the mood, the image lighting, or the color palette. Just really anything. Okay, and I think that's enough. I try to stop when I have around 6 or 7 to stop and look at them and try to evaluate if I want to keep them or keep looking. Also, if I don't find something that really interests me, I'm gonna go for something that's close and do this kind of search between the related images to see if something sparks an extra thing on me. Usually I only scroll down a bit because later it becomes really unrelated. But if you scroll down a bit, sometimes there's some that are really related and similar and kind of give you a lot of inspiration. So for example, I'm gonna start by telling you what inspires me from each one and what I'm gonna draw inspiration from. Usually with all of these open, I do a little bit of a selection to try to keep 6 or 7 open, and I start thumbnailing. And I'm not gonna record that process because I already did that yesterday. I didn't want it to, but I got inspired and I had this idea that I wanted to do, so sorry about that. I think I could explain it anyway. For example, in this one, I love the hair and I love the jewelry. I really want to introduce things like this in my drawing because I know they're typical. In this one, I also love the jewelry. I do like the pose too, but it's not very suited for a mermaid. But I did like the jewelry on her hair and around her neck and everything, so I kept this for inspiration. I will always look on the related images of the ones I like, because sometimes there's real jewels when you scroll down a bit and find something that you really enjoy. In this one, I definitely used the hair. I loved it. These things kind of inspired me too. I'm gonna add a few in my illustration too. And then I like the little things on her hair too, and the tattoo look, the lines and everything. This one I drew a lot of inspiration from. So if you see, I'm already grabbing things from here and there that I know I like. And with this you can do a mood board, you can start sketching right away with them open, whatever you feel like. But usually when you have a source of 6-7 images of inspiration, and all of them are pretty different if you see, you kind of get a lot of ideas out of it. And most of them can be really different because you can combine different things. This one I opened just now, not yesterday, but I do really like the makeup with the white. Well, I don't know if you'll call it a makeup or tattoo. And I like the thing on the neck. I actually did something very similar on my drawing, but it wasn't inspired by this with this one. And then the spear, I had also thought about some sort of an action pose holding a spear. Not exactly this, but I wanted to open it to see how a spear looks and how I will do it. Because of course if you never drawn a spear, you should look up how it looks and to create your own and be more accurate. Next one, it was a lot about the tattoos actually, and I was thinking about doing some sort of pose with the arm like this, and that's all. So as I said, I will have them open while I draw and try to draw inspiration from all of them depending on the things. Mix and match and see what I came up with. I do a few thumbnails and I get a result. I'm gonna show you in the video, probably as I talk. Another thing I used sometimes is using free stock references. If you want to do an image that's basically a plain copy of it, I will recommend you to search for stock references because they do have no copyright. It's better for you so you don't get into trouble. But also sometimes in these stock pages, they do have a lot of good poses around because sometimes the photos are good, especially on landscapes and stuff, but sometimes the photos of people are not that good. But it's true that sometimes you can find real jewels here. You search for them, especially for poses. I usually will do a little search in here if I do want something specific. The ones I use the most are Pixabay and Pexels. I'm gonna try to link all of the things I mentioned down below. These ones I think are the best I've used. I've used a few, and these ones are usually the ones that have photos that look better. Think about keywords, vary your keywords. For example, in my Pinterest search I didn't use that many keywords different, but yesterday I did, because I wanted to try to search for more variety. Even if you already have a few photos that you like, I will recommend you switch up a bit the keywords and try something slightly different to see if you can find more images. The more you gather up, the more selection you have, and then you just have to try and incorporate everything you've seen into an image, which is usually easier when you do it than when you say it, because it sounds really so complicated, but it's not. Actually, before I found this photo shoot of Elisandra dos Santos Silva that I found really useful for this because I love the hair. I love the color palette, it fits a lot with what I had in mind, especially with these ones that are more brown, and this profile is perfect for the thumbnail I draw before. Sometimes it's good for you to search references after you draw the thumbnail too, because you will actually find references of poses and stuff. I don't recommend you search for the exact poses and everything because it can take you a lot of time and be really frustrating, but do a quick search to see if you can find something similar. If not, taking photos of yourself usually helps. For me, for the hand poses and things, it helps me to see how my hand moves and how it grabs things and things like that. Another resource I wanted to mention is PureRef. I found out about this and it's kind of like an app where you do a mood board. It's really easy to install. It's free if you want to. You can donate something to the creators if you want, but you can also download it free. Trying it out. It's really easy to use. I've discovered it really recently and I used it a few times, but it's really easy because you can just easily drag and drop the images from Pinterest and from anywhere really in the internet, and then you'll have them in a board here. Resize them. The thing that takes a bit of time is to get used to the controls, but it's really easy to use. If you rather see all the images together for sketching and everything, I will highly recommend this. I usually do this if I want to do an illustration I'm gonna spend more time into. Like for example, this mood board I made for a little idea I had. This one I started with thumbnail in my sketchbook and then I moved along to collecting references. I had a clear idea in mind. I had more or less the idea for the sketch and everything, so I went ahead and searched for things that will connect with my image. So basically I put on a lot of images. You can also add text, and you can see it's smaller here because I made it in my laptop and I haven't opened it with my desktop computer yet, but you can see here is really practical. You can easily move them around. For example, here you can see my thumbnailing process and my ideation process for the dresses and everything. Afterwards I did that. Give it a try if you rather have a mood board open while you draw, because it's really comfortable. Now on to the second method. So this one is more of a writing approach that honestly when I started it seemed a bit odd for me because I don't usually work this way, but it's really good if you want to create illustrations that have a bit more story to it, because it really gives you a story, a background. It helps you think about a lot of ideas and picturing it really well. You start with this question: who is doing what and when? And actually, for this method, you don't really have to have the answers to the whole question. The important thing here is the who and the what and the when. And you can either start with a who, with a what, or with a when, or with a combination of two. Whatever you feel like, whatever your idea is in the beginning. This idea I extract from Camilla Nepov. I really don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry if I completely pronounce it wrong. From her course of storytelling on schoolism, is that she says that you really don't have to complicate yourself with these ideas, because usually overcomplicating is worse. The good thing about this is that you can start with the basics. So for example, you can start with the who, like for example, a young girl. And before I start writing a lot of things, I want to apologize if you see any typos. English is not my first language, and I'm writing, talking, and trying to think at the same time, so I'm sorry if I commit any typos. I usually know how to write. Like for example here, already, a girl. I'm gonna put you an example of this method because I think you see it better. So not starting with the full thing, but just with a who and a what. You can easily start just with a what or just with a location. It's completely fine and you can easily do it. For example, for a location you can say something like 90s and then move it on from there. You can say something more generic or something more specific, like a party in the 90s, a teen party in the 90s, something like that. For us, let's start with the who and the what. In our case is a girl walking to work. I just came out with this, so bear with me. This is our initial thing, and from here we're gonna ask a ton of questions. This is an important thing here. Ask a lot of questions about everything. And we're gonna ask questions about the character. We're gonna ask questions about the where, the location. We're gonna call it scenario. We're gonna ask questions about what they're doing, but about how they're doing it. We can add that here on the characters. So for example, I'm going to start putting a few examples of this, and then I'm going to just mention the other things you can ask. I'm going to say the character is stressed because she just missed the bus. The scenario is going to be a city. She missed the bus. Sorry, it's a bit weird to write on the computer, so my calligraphy is a bit bad. So she's stressed and her clothes are messy. So of course if she's stressed and she's run and missed the bus, she will have messy clothes. And maybe she has formal clothes because that will be more fun to have messy formal clothes. And you keep going like this, like asking questions. So she missed the bus, so of course she will be stressed. That will reflect on her in different ways, and you can kind of connect one point to the other. Some other things you can ask about the mood, the color of the illustration, and the lighting. These will kind of all be related, so I'm just them all together. For example, we will say is spring. It's a spring morning, it's slightly cold, not too much. Cold and windy. So for example, she's wearing a red coat. And I'm going to put the red coat here, because it will probably mark the color composition of the piece. And the mood here, like she's stressed, so of course the stress reflects on the mood, and I want to put it there. And the lighting, I'm going to say it's morning, so morning in spring. And you can note it, I mean, you can take these notes wherever you feel like. If you want to say, oh, alright, let's talk about what time of day it is, and you put everything there. So the lighting is morning, so it will be morning light. And you know, if anything of this you don't know how to do, just search for references, it's fine. Other things you can ask are point of view. You're gonna tell this story from a close-up of her or from farther away, where you show, I don't know, take a headshot of her and maybe you see in the back the bus going very small and her stressed face and the hair all messy and everything. So yeah, ask about the season, ask about the time of day, ask about the lighting, ask about the point of view, the mood of the illustration, what you want to convey with it. Not only what this character is feeling, but also what you want to convey with it. Color and such. Think about the clothes, what they're doing, who are they. Try to ask a lot of questions about the character, because that will give you can add then some objects that say a lot about the character and about the situation at the moment. And then just any other ideas you might have, just take notes of them. Extra ideas. So here's the main idea. And then you can take off all of this. And I promise you, for example, I just filled out a bit of this and I already have a clear picture in my mind of what I could do, of a few options I could do. But then afterwards, after this, you just start sketching. Start sketching with your ideas and then search for references. I will recommend you start sketching after this, because if you see these and if you made this, you probably have this very fresh and you probably have a few ideas already that you can sketch out really like in a thumbnail mode. You'll probably have a really good illustration with this. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wanted to give you as much information as I can about my process, about this process I learned, and my thought process behind it. I don't know if I put it out very clearly, but I really wanted to help out if you don't know how to start with an illustration with the ideation process. So I hope you liked it. Please give it a like or leave a comment to tell me what you thought about it, if it helped. If you have any more doubts, maybe I can explain it further. And if you like content like this, please hit the subscribe button and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!